Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Tonight on Our News, the Dorian Pledge Conference dismissed as a PR stunt. A police officer's shocking story of how she survived abuse. More businesses warn of price hikes. And police investigating a murder in Pinewood Gardens. Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, a public relations exercise designed to bamboozle Bahamians is how Disaster Reconstruction Authority Executive Chairman Alex Storr is describing the Hurricane Dorian Pledge Conference. Smith lashing out over millions of dollars spent on debris cleanup while also addressing an ongoing audit of the DRA. Jasmine Brown reports.
DRA Executive Chairman did not hold back as he continued to rail against the Minutes administration's handling of post-Dorian recovery. This time he slammed a January 2020 pledge conference that was sponsored by the United Nations Development Program.
The pledge conference, from what I have seen so far, was nothing but a PR exercise done to fool the Bahamian people. The 1.7 billion or however much the figure was, what actually materialize is nowhere near that figure.
In January 2020, the Minutes administration said it received $1.5 billion in pledges for Hurricane Dorian relief during a special pledging conference. Pledges included technical assistance, intellectual assistance, concessionary loans, equity, grants, and guarantee financing. As it relates to cleanup efforts 2 years after the monster storm ravaged parts of Grand Bahama and Abaco, Storr isn't happy about that either. He detailed millions of spending with what he called minimal results at some dump sites.
Over the life of since Dorian, I would hazard a guess of about $10 to $20 million has been spent. And like I said, the debris is still there.
Storr says the Davis administration is investigating how to end some of the underperforming contracts. The DRA official also addressed the authority not being in compliance with the law. Although a DRA progress report dated February 2021 was tabled in Parliament last year, the authority remains in violation of the Disaster Reconstruction Authority Act 2019, which mandates that the DRA submit a copy of its audited accounts to the minister responsible, together with a copy of any other report made by the auditor 3 months after the end of each financial year.
We are working feverishly to make sure that we are in compliance, and that's one of the reasons why we have the financial audit that is going on to make sure that we comply with that. And we also we are going to hire a compliance officer to make sure that they can go through the document and any other documents that require compliance and make sure that we comply. Because right now, that's one of the major issues right now. With the simplest things, with the simplest contracts and things, there's nobody really in office to make sure the checks and balances are done.
Is there a timeline for all of that to happen for it to be fully in compliance?
We're going through the exercise that I'm doing myself personally is going through the act now to make sure we are compliant with things and what we need to do to be compliant.
Storr says the new executive board's goal is to solve the issues they met in place as quickly as possible. He says an operational audit will now become a forensic audit. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
In other news, a police officer is opening up on the abuse she endured during a relationship in the hopes of encouraging other women to leave toxic relationships. Jared Higgs has more.
Woman Inspector Shanique Ford says police aren't exempt from abusive relationships. She was a victim of abuse herself.
I was in a relationship with a guy who wanted me all to himself, right? To the extent where friends, that was a no-no. Family, that was a no-no.
Describing the relationship as devastating, Ford says she couldn't have a cell phone and was cut off from the world with no social life. Some days she would respond to domestic disputes similar to what she was going through. She has many stories of abuse and humiliation, including this one after getting her hair done one day.
Coming to where he was and him taking a bucket of water and throwing it on me, right?
After having your hair done?
After having my hair done. Waiting in the salon for 4 or 5 hours. And that's what took place.
That wasn't the worst of the abuse. Ford says she wanted to get closer to God and told her abusive boyfriend she was going to church. With a bottle of perfume laying around in her car, she picked him up and told him where she was going.
He took the perfume and he hit me in my head. I still have the scar to show. In full uniform.
After going to the clinic with Ford, the man denied knowing what happened. Ultimately, she decided not to press charges due to the embarrassment. However, that was a major sign that she couldn't continue in the relationship. Another clear sign was investigating a murder where a man shot and killed his child's mother.
I say, Lord, that could have been she.
Yes.
Because I just going to talk. And she met him to the gas station to talk.
Ford told her story on the weekly show Cop Talk, hosted by the Royal Bahamas Police Force. The topic during the month of February is toxic relationships. The woman inspector has long exited that relationship and is still dating. Her advice for other young women in abusive relationships is to know that they aren't to blame for the abuse they are enduring.
If you going through something, find someone to talk to. Today it might rain, but tomorrow the sun will come out. The sun have to shine again. So just, find someone to talk to, find someone you can confide in. Don't never feel like you're the cause and nothing bad that's happening in your life.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
More businesses are warning their prices may increase slightly in the future. However, Lowe's Wholesale and CBS Bahamas say the goal is to keep prices as low as possible. Bethany McDermott reports.
Lowe's Wholesale's joining other businesses warning of a hike in prices. According to Managing Director William Cash, while the company is trying to refrain from increasing prices, consumers can expect up to a 9% jump in prices.
It's going to vary in different markets. The petroleum products are going to see a bigger hike. Things that come from further away because of the shipping costs being added to these things are going to see a further hike. But I'm anticipating anywhere from 3 to 9.
Earlier this week, SuperValue Chief Financial Officer Debbie Simonet said there seems to be no end in sight for increasing grocery store prices. She added the company itself has been experiencing price hikes from its suppliers. Cash said they too have received notifications of increases. Under the emergency orders, Lowe's was allowed to operate as it was seen as an essential business, but still its profits took a hit.
COVID has taught us a lot, but it's made us do a lot more as far as keeping the stores sanitized, as far as educating your staff, as far as providing masks and stuff and other protection items. So it's eaten into your profit some.
CBS Bahamas manager of e-commerce and online sales, Brent Barrow, says they've not seen an increase in retail items. However, the same cannot be said for their high-end products.
Some of our more high-end special order products, vinyl windows is a good example. Custom-made garage doors is a good example. Things that use those vinyl and plastic materials, there have been some increases. Plywood, of course, I think everybody will realize has been going up and down like crazy. But those products, yes, some of our vendors have put prices up, a few percent, probably up to 5 or 7%. But like I said, that's more of the high-end special order, what we call our project sales. As for the normal in-store stock, things have more or less been, steady.
But still, both businesses say they are looking to keep prices as low as possible.
We do still have our price match guarantee, so we do still guarantee the lowest prices island-wide. So we're feeling pretty good about it thus far.
If you got a better buying power, you can buy more. It's a tough time, but yes, you are going to see some price hikes, but we are going to do our endeavor best to keep them as low as possible.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
Meanwhile, police are investigating a homicide in Pinewood Gardens last night. Police press liaison officer Superintendent Audley Peters shared these details on the scene.
Shortly after 11 p.m., police received reports of a shooting incident that occurred on Wild Grover Street in Pinewood Garden. On the arrival of our first responders, they met a male lying in the street, unresponsive. Emergency medical services was summoned, and following their assessment of the victim, he was pronounced lifeless.
Peters says the victim, who was in his 20s, was a resident of the area.
Our initial investigations revealed that this male was walking south along Wild Tamron Street when he was approached by a lone gunman who brandished a firearm, and as a result, the victim turned around and started running. This gunman discharged his weapon in the direction of the victim. thereby the victim succumbing to his injuries here on scene. We're appealing to members of the public who may have any information in respect to this incident to contact their police department or the Criminal Investigations Department at 502-9991 or 2.
Some clouds outside the R News studios. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with the latest.
Thanks, Christine, and welcome everybody for our first look at weather on this beautiful Friday evening. Temperatures outside our studios right now, slightly warmer in the mid-70s, 74 degrees with some intermittent clouds. Your winds out of the northeast at 6 miles per hour and your feels-like temperature at 76. Satellite view, frontal boundary that's hanging out across the central Bahamas, still there, generating a couple isolated showers, even an isolated thunderstorm or two, mainly across the Long Island, San Salvador, and portions of the Exuma. We expect this boundary to lift back towards the north, the remnants of it, so we could see some isolated showers through tonight and into tomorrow and into the weekend actually, before we do see another frontal boundary getting in here sometime by Sunday. That's just ahead of Valentine's Day. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, how Access Accelerator is helping to grow the business community, plus a cultural icon receives an international honor. That's coming up when our news returns.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
The Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center announcing its new board of directors. The board says it hopes to help the underserved at a critical time during the growth of many businesses in the country. Sharika Johnson reports.
Minister of Economic Affairs Michael Alcides announced a new board of directors to head the Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center. He says the board is now diverse and youthful and will help micro, small, and medium-sized businesses navigate the pandemic.
In the COVID-19 environment, it is critical that governments act from a policy position to protect micro, small, and medium enterprises, and we are proud to be doing just that. We must ensure that we reach the traditionally underserved, as well as ensure that we reach the family islands.
Executive Director Davinia Bean says up to last June, the organization spent $70 million to assist over 2,000 clients. She hopes to do more.
We really want to help as many as possible, and that assistance goes beyond just funding. That's training, that's education, that's advisory services. But that said, the budget that we're currently working with as of June 2021 is a $20 million allocation. So the idea is definitely we want to make sure that gets into the coffers of these small businesses. And as we approach another budget cycle, we would be able to together with the new board and this administration carve out what that looks like going forward.
Former opposition leader Loretta Butler Turner has been appointed a consultant. Alcides called her a valuable asset in ensuring the SPDC touches everyone. Meanwhile, new chairman Lorne Baston says the board, which held its first meeting, will build on the policies of the previous board while adding its own agenda.
The focus of the board is to ensure that in this pandemic and post-pandemic environment, we seeing the need that businesses are even more reliant on the services and the projects and portfolios that the Small Business Development Center has to offer. The immediate goal of the board would be to put all the policies in place to ensure that we have maximum exposure to small and medium-sized businesses.
For our news, I'm Sharika Johnson.
Legendary dancer Dr. Ann Higgins receiving an international honor recognizing her as one of the world leaders of dance. The recognition comes from Dance Ministry magazine. Dr. Higgins says she was thrilled to be the only non-American to be recognized.
Thank you so much. I am really honored.
Higgins has pursued her passion of performing arts for over 40 years. She started dancing at age 15 and made it a career in the 1970s, dancing in a Freeport casino. She has also performed in 6 major productions from 1975 to...
Yesterday marked that 36 years. My 2 daughters are here with me today, and one of them I was pregnant with 36 years ago, a child, when I gave my life to the Lord. Not only did I give my life, but I gave my gifts and my talent, and that allowed me to travel the world evangelizing through the arts.
When our news returns, the secret to crafting the perfect cocktail. And before you fly, learn all about our feathered friends with Alive and the Bahamas National Trust. We have the details when our news returns.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
This is our news. Welcome back. Who needs a floral arrangement on Valentine's Day when Vivant is serving up drinks with edible flowers? Our Megan Shepard traded in her mic for a measuring cup as she learned to craft the perfect cocktail.
Beverage director Adrian Wiley says that Vivant is the perfect place to usher in this Valentine's Day. Not only are the cocktails a perfect mix of tasty and beautiful, but the atmosphere bodes well for the occasion of love.
Outside of literally when you walk in the door, it's almost immediately noticeable. The space itself is very intimate. For me, it reminds me of a not in a bad way, but my aunt's living room, if that makes sense, just kind of familiar, homey. The space itself is intimate, whether you sit in the corner by the window or you sit in the little nook on the side there. You basically kind of have the entire space to yourself, and even if you don't, it always feels like that.
And then this is the place to come on a Friday night or Saturday night for those that may not have a Valentine's Day date as yet for Monday.
Right, and absolutely, yeah, if they don't have one yet, for sure, I'm sure someone else does it, and if you guys come, whatever happens, happens. But, and even if you don't, I would encourage you to come here, you know what I mean? Because, what else are you going to do on Valentine's Day then if you're not doing anything with someone?
So there's flowers in both of these drinks that you're about to show me.
There's flowers in both of these drinks, and as guys, obviously, we're like, oh, I don't want to drink with flowers, or I don't want to drink that looks all cute, and let your lady do something nice for you.
So let's get started with the first one.
Okay, so the first one, as I said, a crowd favorite. I'm going to start with the French Zephyr, and that features gin, elderflower liqueur, as I said before, fresh lime, fresh grapefruit, dehydrated citrus garnish, juniper berries that are so affectionately called. It's called the souse water by people who know, because you'll see when I'm finished. It looks kind of like souse. As I said, so those who, Bahamians, as we know, we love souse on a Saturday. After a night out drinking.
Especially, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this is one of those drinks that...
This one's for the fellas. I'll make this one. Okay. Hopefully I do a good job.
Okay. I have faith in you.
Thank you. Are you?
All right. Yeah.
All the way up.
All the way up. And these are good sex guys. Do it all around, move it all around. Make sure it gets mixed in really nice. And you can go crazy. Don't splash it, yes. Don't splash it. You can put it in the drink here. There you go. You can add a couple more in there as well.
Reporting for our news, I'm Megan Shepard.
Still ahead, Alive is flying high with the Bahamas National Trust. Find out more after this.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Welcome back to our news. Wet weather this weekend. Greg joins us with the extended forecast. Hi, Greg.
Thanks again, Christina. Welcome back, everybody, for our second look at weather. High pressure ridge dominating most of the islands. That frontal boundary that was across the central Bahamas still basically in that location. Couple isolated showers associated with that boundary affecting the Long Island as well as the San Salvador and the Exumas. We expect the remnants of this boundary to lift back towards the north, so we could see some increases, some shower activity across the northwest Bahamas into the weekend before a more significant front now taking shape across the southeastern United States should drop in here by Sunday, so we're looking at some cooler temperatures for Valentine's Day. Boating forecast for the northwest Bahamas tonight to tomorrow. Your winds will be out of the east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots. The seas running 2 to 4 feet. They will fall light and variable at times. Low tide will be at 10, 12 tonight. For the central and southeast Bahamas, a caution flag posted for you guys down there. Winds will be east to southeast at 15 to 20 knots. Seas running 4 to 7 feet over the open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through next Friday. Couple isolated showers expected by Sunday, and then a nice change in the weather for Valentine's Day. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Greg. Alive celebrating its 5-year anniversary by partnering with the Bahamas National Trust to bring awareness to endangered bird species in the Bahamas. Look out for the bird display during your next visit to Lynden Pinling International Airport. BNT provided information and photos for the display. The idea is to educate thousands of passengers who pass through LPIA on the importance of birds like the flamingo, hummingbird, and parrot.
This partnership we're celebrating today, I want all Bahamians traveling through the airports to look at those beautiful Bahamian birds that are there. And a Bahamian company would grasp that it's important to use the Bahamian environment to market a Bahamian product. And that's what they've done. That's what Alive has done. And we've been honored to have been a partner to provide images and some of the text, etc.
Alive CEO John Gomez says he's excited about the partnership. In addition to donating $5,000, Alive will share information on endangered birds through social media in an effort to heighten awareness of BNT's conservation work.
We thought this was a great way to be able to help to tell the story in terms of what the BNT are doing and to help to get other people involved in the process of understanding about conservation, about the environment, and the community at large.
Kerry says he hopes BNT will get to partner with Alive again in the future. Well, thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.